Okay, I've got to say, okay, I've got it.
Nice. So what's up, guys? Kelly McKay here, aka HVAC Millionaire, right here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, hit the like button, and leave me a comment below. I've gotten pretty good at saying that because I've said it 1,000 times.
Yes.
Today, I've got my good friend, business partner, and coach, Miss Natalia Rodriguez. Her and her husband own a business in Tucson, and they are crushing it this year. Woohoo!
Yeah.
So, two clap, boom,
Boom. Yes.
But
Fist pump.
yeah. We haven't talked for a while, so we figured we just record and just talk. Talk a little bit about our students that are, I call them students, but clients. Clients that are. They're a student when they put on the student goggles and they're in the course, within our group. And then they're clients every week when we meet with them and do some coaching or some sharing, or we've had a few guests on. I'm trying to get another guest this week. So my good friend from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, hoping that he'll come on. If he doesn't, then I'm going to have to put our lesson together, because I haven't done that yet. But I'm hoping that I talked to him last week and he was like, oh yeah, cool, that'll be cool. So I think it'll be good, and can share.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah, he'll be able to share what he's done, and some of his strengths are culture, for one thing. He's got a killer culture, and I think that he'll be able to share a lot with the group to help enhance everyone's culture. So we're not just about coaching and training. We're also bringing people from our industry into the group. That's not being shared, anywhere else but in our group, to help everybody grow their HVAC businesses. So.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, I saw someone make a post in one of the Facebook ads that we've got going on. And he was like, if you could just help me find good people to come work here, right? And that's one of the things we actually had on the last call, was exactly that. So
I'm an absolute rock star at doing that.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Marketing rock star.
Yes.
Because you got to know how to market if you're going to get people, come into your business. One thing that really struck me is, because I had talked to a coach that's from the Oklahoma City area, and she is in the scaling up program. And so they use the scaling up tools to help businesses, scale their business. Mm-hmm. And one of the rules, or which is probably goes for any business, is you gotta have like a bench. You gotta have somewhere to grab new talent to come on board.
Mm-hmm. I call it the pipeline.
Yeah, pipeline.
And that's what. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And having a pipeline, just like you need a pipeline of, people wanting to come in your door, knocking your door down, to have you come help them with their air conditioning or heating, right? Yeah. You've got to have people knocking at your door to want to come work for you. I think a lot of contractors struggle with that. I think culture, it's going to be great when we talk about that next week, because culture is a huge part of that, right? You've also got to retain your talent as well.
Yeah, something that she said to me also when it came to retention, that really struck me, is she said, people do leave. There's no question. Things happen. They move. They decide to change careers, get hurt, whatever. I mean, people leave. It just happens. Could be a health issue even. But to always know, like, if you look, once you get some years under your belt, the longer you're in business, then the longer you can look back at what has happened, and you can determine how long have people typically stayed with me. And of course, that's something that you want to increase always, increase the length of time that someone stays with your business. But also that gives you an idea of what's going to be needed in the future
Mm-hmm.
in the pipeline. So you better have some people in the pipeline, because we see a lot of business owners, and I did the same thing. Is before I had this information, I always thought, you just always think that, oh yeah, no, this person's good, that person's good, that person's good. Like, you don't think that they're going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then something can change. And then all of a sudden they do go somewhere, and you're like, left trying to pick up the pieces. And so it's just nice to have a better understanding of that, so that you can be sure to have a pipeline of people to call on to bring into your business if you lose somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, as the business owner, as the leader, those are challenges that you must solve. Those are just normal things, right? So even if you weren't a heating and air conditioning business and you were still a business owner, like, that's a problem or a challenge, right, that you would need to solve. And so, like in our coaching program, we teach the things that are just part of the journey, right? Where so many people crash and burn because of these things that are just a part of the process of growth, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, I just lost my top number one person. Okay. And a lot of people will like give up there, right? And that's where you and I help them to keep understanding, to keep pushing forward, and then to solve these challenges that you have. And you and I also provide resources for people to actually do these things, right? To have a full pipeline of people. And we make the introductions, and we give you the tools and the resources and the knowledge to keep moving forward, right? And I feel like one of the myths out there, right, that need to be erased like immediately is like, no one wants to work, there's nobody good. You've probably heard that. I can't find anybody.
I've heard it 1,000 times. Yeah.
Right. You hear it. And
it's even on our Facebook ad that's running. Like, people put on that, well, I would, but I can't find anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're just giving up,
Right. And then I know one of the big sayings you have is, you always find what you're looking for. Right. If that's the belief that you have, then I guess believe that, right? I guess if that's your believe that. But the rest of us, right, at least our students who are in the coaching program, we don't allow you to believe that, right? And then we show you exactly how it's possible. And so it's so exciting, right? But that's one of the myths out there. So if anybody out there in HVAC millionaire land, whether you're watching this on YouTube, you got to stop believing. You got to stop believing that myth that no one wants to work. Because think about it. So all the businesses you visit in a day. So how do they continue to do work? How do they continue to stay in business if no one wants to work? So that's not true. That's not true. You probably just don't know how yet.
Not true.
Right. You probably just don't know how yet. And that's the ultimate truth.
And the thing is they probably even have somebody on their team who is like everything they'd want and somebody who would join forces with them, right? So that's proof right there. That should be proof enough that there are people, because the longer you're in business, you're going to find people, whether they're outside of our industry or inside of our industry. If they came from a different profession, or they're just, maybe that's their first job, and you happen to be, their very first employer. Some people just have a great work ethic and a great attitude, and like they're out there. But as soon as we say that there's no good people, it's like this: the blinders come on, and you could have people standing right next to you, and you're not going to see them. Your subconscious mind is not going to go to work looking for resources and people, and that can help you find other people too. So it's just that's one of the things that I've always been intrigued with, and I know you have too, is just the psychology of kind of everything, but the
Yeah,
psychology
life, the
of success,
psychology of life.
psychology of life.
What's on
Yeah.
your mental dashboard from day to day, right?
Mhm.
Like what sets, what sets people apart from one another? What makes one person give up over another, right? And there's things that we teach inside of the program and that I've gotten on the calls and like really dove in there and like hammered at, right? And it's a real big part of it is people's psychology, is their belief systems. A lot of people weren't given, nobody was really given like an entrepreneur brain, right? They weren't
Right.
given they
Right.
weren't raised with entrepreneurial habits, especially in this industry. I find that, right? There's a lot of one of the things that I know made a big difference in one of our clients is like there was like a belief there, right? And I'm like, okay, well, if you continue to believe that, what's going to be the result? Right? You can continue to believe that, or we can drop that belief. So what would it feel like to just let go of that? And so, and we realize, and I've realized myself, there's certain belief systems, right, that were just kind of passed on to you. You adopted them.
Oh,
A lot of
absolutely.
people don't even know why they believe that. Also, talking about culture, in a community too, a community can come together and believe a certain belief, right? Like a bunch of HVAC business owners, there could be a section of them that say there's no good people, no one wants to work, this and that. And then there's another section, in the same industry, doing the same thing, that's not their truth. So how does that happen? Right? Which one is true? Which belief is true? Because we see a whole lot of people having success at it. So it must be possible.
And it's one of those things where if you just look, you'll find that somebody else is doing it. And when you see that somebody else is doing it, then that automatically shatters the belief. If you're real with yourself, if you
Mm-hmm.
stop pretending that,
Yeah.
that that because if that were the case, then nobody would be successful.
Yeah.
If nobody everywhere could ever find anybody to come work for them, nobody would be successful in business
Yeah.
because you
We
can't
wouldn't
do it
have
by
an
yourself.
economy. Like we would have zero economy, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
no one, no one would be able to support themselves like at all.
yeah. Yeah, I heard from Darren Hardy because I've taken quite a bit of stuff from him over the years. And he's got a really great leadership. It's like a year-long course, and it is really great. Lots of great ideas, but one of the things is everything that we know, all our beliefs, whether they're conscious or unconscious, we're just mimicking what we learned somewhere else. Because you got to think about how many, like, what beliefs do you have when you're born? Not many, probably zero. Other
Probably I
than
need to
you learn
eat.
real quick that when I scream, mom brings me, or dad brings me a bottle. Or when I scream, mom or dad change my shitty diaper,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you start believing that, hey, they're here to help me. That's probably your first belief. But other than that, like everything, it's belief on it's TV, it's society, like the culture scape. Is
Mm-hmm.
that what Vision Lakiani calls it, the culture scape? Or
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So it's just how we were raised, and unfortunately it's really hard to make a different shift when you've been living some way your whole life, and then you go out and start a business, and then all of
Mm-hmm.
a sudden you realize that there's so much more to this. And in order to break free and to actually go from being a technician who does everything to actually having people to manage and eventually
Mm-hmm.
becoming the entrepreneur, like Michael E. Gerber, you're the technician, the manager, and the entrepreneur or visionary. And in order to climb that ladder to get to where you can spend more time in in the vision of what you see for the company and sharing that with your managers. And it's real easy to never get past the technician mode just because that's what that's your comfort zone. And we were talking about comfort zones earlier this weekend, just in text messages, because it's the entire difference. It's even with people when it comes to investing in their own education to learn a few things that's going to really shift the trajectory of their business. They're scared to spend the money. I've had lots of calls where people act like they're scared to spend money, or I don't know what other option they would have when it comes to our conversations. As far as like what else is going on, they either don't have the money or they're afraid to. And I always ask people, like, what have you done so far? And it might be like their local, I can't say too much because I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but some of your local groups, I'm sure Tucson has these, Kansas, we definitely have these where, plumbing, heating, contracting, cooling, contracting group, whatever, the air conditioning, Contractors of America. Like there's some of these groups that have like meetings, the RSES, which is like, they have like monthly meetings, and some of the people that are running those groups, I'm just here to tell you, you're not going to gain anything from them. So it's a waste of time. You don't have time when you're trying to build a business to go waste your time with people who are doing way less than you or have no specific knowledge to help you grow. You're wasting your flipping time.
Yeah. And I understand, right? Like I have huge empathy for people when they're just starting out, right? And they maybe don't see the money yet, right? Like I have huge empathy for that. Like many of us have started at zero, right? And so, but think about this, kind of back to the beliefs. I think people are afraid. People aren't afraid to spend money, but they're afraid to spend money on what's not the normal thing that we've been taught to believe to spend money on. And so you got to think about it. Like my husband and I, Joel, right? We were having this conversation this morning. Like you were programmed to believe what's okay and what's not okay, right? And it blows my mind, because when I made this flip in my own life of like, what is right for me to spend my money on? What are things where I'm going to gain something back, right? Because we're all told like people have no problem going and taking out a $300,000 loan, a $500,000 loan, like to live in this big old house that maybe they can't afford yet, right? Or, the nice car in the driveway. But then you come down to something to make you invest in some knowledge, like freak out about the cost of that. But a brand new TV on the
You're cutting out on me and your screen is froze.
but a brand new TV on their wall, like they're just going to completely, like they're going to be okay with that. Oh, that's fine. You know what? I'll just make the payments and like be in debt and like never figure anything out. And so it was like, I mean, I don't know, right? It's like, again, it's like, what are the right decisions to make? And that's one of the things like we teach you inside of the program, are like, what are the business owner decisions? And like right now, you don't have the brain to, like, because of what you've been taught is quote unquote right. And so that's my thing, is like, that's where I feel like it all comes back to belief systems. Like, what were you taught to believe? What are you taught by society that's okay and not okay? And then you're basing all of that decision, right? And so to me, it's like all backwards. It's like all backwards, right? Where it's like, now it's like, oh, I need to make a decision in my business. We need this. Let's make the decision to do it, because then at the end of the day, there's more business, there's more revenue, right? There's more people. A lot of people can't even pull the trigger on hiring their first person. And we were all there, right, at one point in time. But then when you make that flip of a switch, and then you just see how like it's better on the other side, right? Even if that first person didn't work out, that's okay. Like, let's just keep going, right? And so it's just all comes back to the psychology, right? And what I'm noticing too is people need that support. They need that support of people who've been through there, that can walk them through the process, that give them a guide, that give them a map, right, into the journey that they're about to embark on, right? Because it looks scary. It can be intimidating. Like, we get all that, but it doesn't need to be that way.
Yeah, it's like Brendan says, you want the map before you enter the forest.
Yeah.
Something
And a
like
lot
that.
of people are like in the middle of the forest, like walking around being like, what the fuck am I even here for? Like, what am I doing? Right. I came this far. Right. And it's okay. Like, it's okay if you're lost in the middle of the forest, but like, you need to find someone to help you. Right.
Yeah.
Or you're just going to keep wandering around in this forest. And so with like no direction. Right. And so, and that's one of the primary things in your course that we help people with, and on the coaching calls, right? I mean, because imagine, here's another thing that I've realized is speed. So this is where, like, having guidance, right? Having courage, being able to bounce back. So when you have other people to go to and say this, this, and this, and they can fix your shit, or like together you can fix your shit like really quickly, you're just back up again, right? You're back up again.
Yeah.
And pushing forward. And so, and speed is part of the game. Speed is a big part of the game, because think about it, like someone running a similar race with you, and they have the tools and the resources and the knowledge to just like, once something happens in business, or this thing happens or whatever, I lose my person, and you can just get back up right again, right? Like, that's just going to shorten the process. You're just going to save years of time on like, oh, I fell down, I'm sitting here, like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
What do I do? What do I do? Oh, it looks like I should do this because this is what it looks like from the outside. I should do this. I should do that. I should do this. And people have no direction at all, and they can't bounce back. Think about it. You're just sitting there, and some people stay there for like years and years and years and years and years and waste tons of time. It doesn't got to be that way.
No,
it does.
No. And I love Myron Golden's take on this. I just watched a few videos. I went down a rabbit hole of Myron Golden on YouTube a while back.
Yeah.
He was
Love
talking
Myron.
about time.
What's up, Myron?
Time and money, right? So what's more important, time and money? And then he gives it the example of, if you had a disease that was curable, but you had to sell everything and give all of your money, all your earthly possessions, and all of the money in your bank account to go purchase that, and you only had a month to do it, or you're going to die, or you're going to get the antidote and live, what would you do? And everybody choose, I would sell everything and I would get the antidote. That's because you inherently, instinctively know that time is way more valuable than money. And so we get tripped up in our head that, oh, well, maybe I don't have quite that money. I mean, or whatever it is that you're wanting to purchase. But it's something that's going to literally cut the time in half, as far as how long you struggle in the field, or struggle in your business, or struggle in your current situation. Like, if you want to fix it, the fastest way, this is 2022, like the fastest way to fix it is pay somebody who has been there, done that, learn it, and then implement it. And you can fix those things very quickly and drastically turn around, whether you're in severe debt or not, or you're just struggling, living like paycheck to paycheck. Because for years in my business, it was like living paycheck to paycheck, just on a way grander scale. I may have $10,000 or $15,000 or $20,000 worth of bills to pay every week, but it was just, so it was no different than if my bills were, $80 a week and I only made 100, or I only made 90. So you get what I'm saying? It's just a bigger scale, until I started to get the help that I needed. And another thing that trips people up, I think, is just time. Once again, time, which is, I don't have time to do this or that. And here's what I can tell everybody listening, if you've watched this long, into our discussion here, is that you would be better off throwing your phone in your truck, leaving it in the truck for a week or two, sit down and work your ass on your damn business. Who cares who calls? Who cares what business you lose? If you are not moving forward, that would be such a powerful thing for you to do. You will figure things out. And some of the stuff you're not going to figure out, because you're going to have to pay somebody to help you figure those things out. I can just tell you, you can search for 2 weeks straight and you're not going to find some of the stuff that we have to share, for instance, in our group. Some of that comes just from hard knocks and learning. But people won't stop for a minute, take 2 days out of their week. I'm going over the top on that example. People won't just stop for a day and sit their butt down in front of their computer and build some stuff or work some stuff out or fix some things, like once you have the resources, because that's the thing, even when you have the resources, you still got to implement them. You got to learn them and make sure you understand them. And then you've got to implement them. You may have to, build a couple of things. I'll give you the structure for it in the course, but you still may have to build a little bit. And that's going to take a little bit of time. But if you'll stop and just get that done, the dividends that it pays is the best return on investment that you'll ever make, ever. But people don't think of it that way. They think, oh, I'm going to lose Mrs. Smith because she's pissed because I'm not there. She's calling. I'm telling you, there's, 1,500 other Mrs. Smiths out there waiting for your service. But until you, your company and the amount of people that you bring onto your team and you change and become a manager and eventually become a leader, until that happens, then you'll only have that one Mrs. Smith that you're worried about getting to. And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, but I get it because I've been there and I've done that. And it's really hard. It's really hard to just say, I'm not going to do that. I'm sitting my butt right here and I'm going to get this done so I can implement it. And then, it's the old saying, for every 10 minutes of planning, you save 30 minutes of execution. This couldn't be, this is more like 15 minutes of planning saves you an hour and a half of execution when it comes to growing your business. So for every minute that you fail to stop and do something, and once you have the tools and you have the resources and you know what you need to do, then so that's just the first step. The first step is the investment. The second step is your time. Yeah, it's going to take some goddamn time. It's not going to just be magically fixed. There is no silver bullet. Believe me, I searched for like 8 years for a silver bullet. It doesn't exist. You mature as a business owner and you start to realize that there is no silver bullet. Of course, there are things that need to be implemented and executed precisely and every single time with consistency. And once you figure that out, then that's it. It's maintaining that. and consistently doing it again and again, day in and day out, and you'll build a tremendous amount of wealth, and your business will continue to grow. And the sky is the limit. But until you stop what you're doing right now and get the help you need, and then take some time to do what needs to be done, then that's when your life will change. That's when your business will change. That's when your families and your family's life will change. And that's when everybody who joins your business, that's when their life will change, is when you
Yeah.
take the time to
And
do
for me, that's like the definition of insanity, right? To just
Yeah.
keep doing the same thing. I mean, and believe that miraculously you not doing anything, right, is gonna somehow, it's gonna magically, fix itself. And I understand why maybe people have a hard time like sitting down, because when I stop, just going through the Mrs. Smiths and, just being out in the field all the time, when I stop doing that, I actually got to look at what reality is. And it's hard for people to look at the reality, right? It's hard. And I get that. But it's like, you can't keep continuing down this road believing that it's just going to magically get better. So either,
It's like
so do one of two
standing in front of
things.
a mirror when you've gained 30 pounds.
Mhm.
It's like,
Yeah.
just no, you ignore yourself when you're sitting there looking at the mirror, because you don't want to see it. You want to pretend it doesn't exist.
Mhm.
You want to stay in your comfortable little bubble, and
And
but
people
then
will go
then
there.
sit and bitch and complain and moan why you're not losing weight or looking better.
Mhm.
And it's the
And
same
people
with
will go, the sad thing is, being a person who loves to, help the humankind, love to help other business owners, love to help people out of pain. The sad thing is, there is a high percentage of people that will just continue that way their entire lives. And so you've got to really sit down and look yourself in the mirror, like Kelly's saying, and say, like, do I want to be one of those people? I did a coaching call a couple of weeks back on pain, right? We, as human beings, like, we try to avoid pain, but know that there is future pain continuing to do the same thing over and over and over again. So do you want to meet that future pain? Do you want to get to, where your body's so broke down that you can't run service calls anymore, and that you realize, like, hey, I looked around and they're like, I never created a true business. I never learned things I needed to learn. I knew I had the potential to do it, but you know what? I just never had the courage to do it. I never sat down and like looked at it and like worked on it. And people think, back to time, like, it's not stopping for you. It will continue to go on. I mean, a lot of us here, you can look back and be like, man, 5 years ago, hey, you look your kids in the face and you're like, man, I remember when they were a baby. Like, time doesn't stop, right? So do you want to get to that place to where, 5 years down the future, you're still asking yourself the same question of like, I don't know how to do this. I can't find people, don't know how to bring in more calls. I want to grow my business. You're saying that today, but are you going to be the person that actually looked up for a minute, took some time, realized what the hell is going on here? It's okay. Again, it's okay. Right? It's okay to be where you are. It's perfectly fine. But like, what's the new decision you make today? Right? And we're all defined by the courage and the decisions that we make every single day, the habits that we developed. We talk a lot about the high performance habits as part of this program. And, one of the high performance habits is courage. And so do you have the courage, not just, the money, okay, the money, okay, I get it. Like when you're in a situation where you're like, right, it's like, I get it. But really, it's like, pull the damn trigger, like get out of pain, right? Like think about how different your life will be. But people get so hung up on that. And it's like, no, like the opportunity that you have to change your entire life, like you were saying, your family's life, what we are seeing happen in our group for people who have just started, right, in the industry, people who did have that pain of like, hey, I stayed the same for 5 years, and all of a sudden we're like multiplying these things and crushing things that we never thought were possible, right? I just met our climate clients. 2 of our clients came to Tucson, and they're on a 20-day vacation going cross country in an RV. I remember having the conversation on the phone with them, being like, what is the future? What does the future look like? And they told me what they wanted it to look like. And they have it now in such a short period of time, right? And they probably in their mind, they couldn't fathom that. But they had the courage to say, hey, I'm going to do something different here. Like, I don't want to continue in pain. I want to figure it out. And kudos, like, and even if it's not this program, right? Because I'm just about like moving human beings forward, progress. Like every day we should be better than yesterday. So it's all about progress. So even if you don't have, even if we're not the coach for you or we're not the program for you, but I would highly, if this is something you're struggling with, we have results, and I would say, I'm in love with what we do. But even if it's not us, make progress. Like quit sitting on the damn sidelines, quit questioning your potential, because if not, you're going to land in that big group of people that, again, have those beliefs, can never get out of them. And at the end of their life, they're sitting in regret.
And when it comes to this potential, I love the batting percentage of like the Major League Baseball, for instance. So like the guy who hits 2 out of 10 has a 200 batting average. The guy who hits 3 out of 10, just one more hit out of 10, and he's considered somebody who's good at the plate. He's considered somebody who can make things happen. And then the guy who hits like 3.5 or 3.7 times every time he steps up to the plate, he's like considered the best in the league as far as batting averages go. There's a story that is, it kind of goes like this. So like if in a horse race, right? Let's say the first place is worth $10,000 and second place is worth $5,000, third place worth $2,000. Now, when it comes to the race and the finish line, the person who takes home the grand prize, the $10,000, how much do they have to win by?
How much?
Yeah, like how much do they have to win by, when they cross the finish line? And so oftentimes it's it's photo finish, right?
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes they're just finishing by a nose.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference. That little difference is double the production, double the money, double the rewards from that little bit. And that's what we're talking about. Like people, I think a lot of times the process pain, we've talked about this a lot. There's a fear surrounding change. And part of that fear is, it's going to be hard, and I'm not saying that business is hard anyways. Who are we kidding? Like the business is hard anyways, but it's never going to change or get better if we don't grow. So in order to grow, we have to do things that are maybe uncomfortable. Like I said earlier, like sitting in the office and telling Miss Smith it's going to be tomorrow or Wednesday or Thursday before you can get to her, because you've got to get something done that's going to drastically shift your results and save you so much time. And it's in that gap right there that makes all the difference. But I forgot where I was going with that, but the process pain. So the process pain you're scared that it's going to have be this really hardcore thing that you're going to have to do, that you already think you maybe have an idea of what it is, and your unconscious mind is saying, nope, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Like, it's hard already. I don't want to make it harder. And that's another part of the problem, is people think that the process is going to be extremely difficult. Well, the pain that you're in right now, if you're in pain because the business isn't growing as fast as you'd like it to, or you don't have the money in the bank that you'd like to have in the bank, that's only going to get worse. Especially with what's happening in our economy. And I'm not trying to make anybody scared of this. And I don't even pay attention to this shit. I don't watch the news.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you. Because I don't live in that world. I live in Kelly's little world right here. In Kelly's world, I control this shit, and so that's where I like to stay, because I can actually do something about the stuff in my world. Anything outside of my little bubble, I can't do anything about. So I'm not going to sit here and worry about it. So, but I know enough just from scrolling on Facebook and stuff of what's happening and what has been happening. And if you think it's going to continue to get easier and easier, you're out of your flipping mind. It's not going to get easier. Competition will become more scarce, because a lot of HVAC business owners will go out of business if they don't stay on top of these price changes that's happening every month. If they don't stay on top of their roster of people on the bench that they're ready to put in to play the game, people to join their company. If they don't stay on top of this, you will find yourself in a deficit and not having anybody to throw into the game to help win the game. And when these types of things happens, if you're not doing a lot of things right, which I could talk all day on, to ensure that you have the money and resources to do the things that you need to do, then there's going to be a time where something's going to happen and you're not going to have that resource to pull yourself back out of it again. So it's not going to get easier. There's going to be, with a lot of businesses going out of business, there's going to be a smaller pool to pick from of available people. Believe it or not, a lot of these people who have owned businesses before either will not go back to work for somebody, so they'll either change careers or they'll retire, because a lot of them are older. A lot of them will be passing it down to family members, and if the family members just repeats what they've been doing, they will not survive unless they've built a profitable, thriving business. And so we have to change, period. You have to change, you have to adapt to the times, or you will find yourself obsolete. The old ways of doing things are obsolete. You can't continue to do those and have a thriving HVAC business anymore.
Yeah. And it's crazy, like back to the belief things. It's like, it's so crazy too, how we've been taught that pain or any kind of struggle or any challenge is like, quote unquote, bad. We've talked about language before. We've talked about it with our students. I'm really big on it because of back to like psychology, but it's like, it doesn't matter. Like there's, because what you were talking about, the process pain, it doesn't matter. Like there's pain anyway, right? So, take someone who wants to lose weight, for example. They look themselves in the mirror, there's 100 pounds on, right? And it's like, which pain's greater, right? Like the pain that you're going to have to endure by going to the gym, which really isn't that big of a deal, right? Everybody knows like how to lose weight, how to get in shape, right? It's like eat less, exercise, like move, like, move more, eat less, or don't eat the shit that you've been eating. Like it's pretty simple.
Yeah, it's
but
not
people
rocket
but
science.
People classify that as like painful, right? I don't want to give up this thing that I've been doing, or so they consider that as like pain. Oh, that's painful to me. I got to give up my 10 bags of chips a week or whatever that thing is. And it's like similar in business. It's like, it's like the back to the process pain. It's like, you're going to have to do some things. You're going to have to change some things, but which pain, do you want? The process pain, which eventually you'll make your way to the other side, and the process pain isn't really that bad. I mean, if you've ever found yourself like getting up off the couch and having to go to the gym, once you get there and you're doing it, like you actually feel really good. You're actually, wow, this gives me energy. Wow, this is moving me forward. You feel progress. And it's the same thing with building the business. It's like, I'm doing the necessary shit, right? I'm doing these things to like progress the business forward. And I actually feel really good about this because at least I know I'm headed in the direction of the outcome that I want, rather than staying in this pain over here, which is waking up every day, not liking the body I'm in, waking up every day, not liking the business that I've built up to this point, And so it's like, we got to get over that whole process pain, because like either way, again, it's like, let's cross to the other side. Let's go through a little bit of pain right now. Let's sit down, even if it's like, I don't know what it is. Like maybe you just started a new software, let's say, so to speak, and you need to build your price book, right? A lot of people are going to be like, I need to get that done. I need to get that done. It's in the back of your head. And it's like, if you would only take 2 hours and like do it, and be done with it. Like the next time you're out in the field, you can just select stuff from your iPad, get it all done, boom, like it's all there, right? So the pain really isn't that bad. It's psychologically where people, like they're labeling it a certain way in my mind, right? So it's like, either way, it's like there's pain, so to speak, whether it's the process pain, there's life has struggle. Like if you haven't realized that yet, like, here's where you have that aha moment of like, human beings, like we all struggle. I mean, I was having a conversation with my son, right? So I take this and I teach this and I teach it, I teach it to the small people of the world too. And he was building, he loves Legos. Like he just is in love with Legos. And so him and Joel that's been their thing on the weekend, is like they'll build Legos. And so he started with like, the 5-year-old ones and moved. He was yesterday working on one, and it says like 18 and up that these Legos are for. He has a whole shelf now where he's building them. And he was so frustrated. Like he was sitting there, he had done it. You got to do it in steps. And so he had done one, and he's like, it doesn't go on, Mom. He's like, it doesn't go on. And like, he's sitting there and he's crying. He's like crying. He's frustrated. And I'm like, what have I taught you? Right. I've taught you that, again, I took this one from Myron too, but Myron says, if something doesn't have a brain and you have a brain, you're going to win at that thing. Right? You're going to win at that thing. And so I'm like, what have we talked about? Like that thing, the Legos don't have a brain. You have a brain, honey. So it's, first of all, it's not going to beat you. Second of all, I've also taught you that we can figure out anything, right? It's not the end of the world. I'm like, okay, let's take a deep breath, and I try to make him laugh and like change his state and all of that. And I'm like, okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm like, all right, let's go back a few steps. So we're like, he's like, oh, I got to undo this. And I'm like, yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So there he is, like, and I'm like, all right, let's just start from here. Let's just start back from scratch, and he's putting all these things together. And it's like, and I'm like, first of all, give yourself credit. So everybody here, I'm going to tell you, like, give yourself credit. You're doing something that is very challenging, which is growing a heating and air conditioning company. Like, it is very challenging. There are complex things to this journey, right? And so first of all, I showed him the box and I'm like, look at honey. I'm like, he's 9. I'm like, look at it. It says this is for 18 and up. I said, the fact that you're here and doing this and like have challenged yourself and you've completed ones already, like, give yourself credit. And he's like, okay, Mom, like, okay, I get it. It's like 18 and up. it's a
Right.
challenge. You know
Right.
what I mean? So things like it's gonna be hard. You're gonna mess stuff up. Okay, but we can go back and like undo it and like see like where did I kind of screw up, and then like I kind of guided him through it. But like him too, having me there, it was like he bounced back quicker, right? Than like, because he's had situations too where the Legos go flying across the room, right? And like I broke the whole Lego thing because like I just and that's what people do with their business. They just go, screw this shit, I'm gonna throw it against the wall, I'm gonna break it all down. You know what I mean? Because I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm frustrated. And it doesn't need to be that way. But there is, I guess, when you're doing anything challenging, I guess my point is when you're doing anything challenging, like you're gonna encounter obstacles. And that's an opportunity to grow. Like it's a complete opportunity to grow. Right. And then with the right people around you and with the right people who know to keep your mindset on point, who know how to hold you accountable, who won't let you sit there and cry and give up. Right. It just makes things, you just finish the project that much quicker. And
Yeah.
so, just process pain. Like it's just, again, you're doing a challenging thing. It's just part of it. Like it really is not a big deal unless in your mind, like you're making it this big old deal, so.
Yeah,
There's
I'm
that.
like one of the things that's a great analogy. And one of the things I was thinking of the other day was that when I was a technician and first got started like using my own hand tools, like, okay, like, I was with my father-in-law and he'd be like, okay, let's change this capacitor. Let's change this, let's replace this disconnect or replace this contactor. And probably 2 or 3 times, you're just clumsy with your tools. You're just
Mhm,
clumsy.
mhm,
You
mhm.
just don't have the strength. You don't have the skill. You don't turn it right. You don't hold it right. And you press too hard. And
Yeah, with the
2 or
drills.
3 times ripped my hand wide open, because I'm pressing on it. It slips
Mm,
off and I cut myself on the side of the unit. Like it
mhm,
happened several times, but you learn.
mhm,
You got to take, that's like the bruises and the bumps and scrapes and bruises. You're taking these along the way, and as long as you course correct,
mhm,
and then eventually you stop slicing your hand wide open. But we've got
mhm,
contractors out there for 25 years that just keep slicing their hand open over and over and over again, and they just don't
mhm,
seem to figure it out and learn. A lot of times when you were saying earlier that people who throw this thing up against the wall and just start all over, well, that's what happens too, is they form this belief that, okay, there's no good people. That was the last person that just quit on me, who was a piece of shit. And
mhm,
there, I've already tried that. I've already tried hiring people, and so now they believe that it's easier to just do it on their own.
mhm.
And it's to each their own. Like, I'm not going to beat somebody up who decides just have a one-man company. If
Mhm.
you do it
Yeah, but that's a
right, you
decision.
can,
Mhm,
it is a decision, as long as
mhm,
you're not complaining about it, about the limitations of your income and the limitations of your time. If you don't complain about it, then great. You can
mhm,
earn a very good living. You can still take vacations and stuff. You can still make a life as one technician, but a lot of people, that's not what they want. They want
mhm,
growth. And
mhm,
so one thing about us is that we don't go around saying, like, even though it's true, like even though you can triple your income, your total revenue, you can increase your profit dramatically. You can do all of these things by learning a few things. But we're not blatant about going around saying these things to people, because it's just not my style, and it's not Natalia's style either. So don't discount anything that's possible, when it comes to investing in yourself and growing, I guess. I don't know how else to say it. I'm not trying to, I'm just saying that we're not flamboyant usually as far as like,
mhm,
join the course right now, and
mhm,
we're gonna make you $1 million in 6 months. Like,
mhm,
I'm not gonna go
mhm.
around saying that, even though it's happened a few times. Like
Our
it's,
students,
it'll continue
like
to
to be
happen,
flamboyant about it.
you
But
know?
yeah, and that's why, that's
Yeah.
why I would rather them hear from our students directly.
Yeah. Yeah. So we just had this training yesterday, and this was my prop right here. This is my dog toy, one of the dog toys. I took advantage of the break because the two people went before me, and then we had a break, and then it was my turn to present. And we're talking about kind of this exact thing that you and I are kind of talking about right now is feedback. Using feedback to your advantage. And people who continue to struggle are ignoring feedback, because you are getting feedback from your spouse, from your team, from your financials, from the amount of
Bank
success
account.
you're having, or the amount of success that you're not having. This is all feedback, and it's an opportunity to change. And so you can do it. You can, like Natalia said, sometimes you may have to take a step back and, take some stuff apart and then rebuild it the right way. But it is possible. And you'll find that 1 year from now, you're in a completely different place and things are so much better than you ever imagined, just because you made the decision to invest in yourself and you made the decision to change. Because it really just only depends on a single decision. And most of the time people wait till we're in, well, back to the feedback, right? We're always getting feedback, constantly surrounded. Like it's either feedback that brings pain or feedback that brings pleasure. Now, which would you rather hear? Pleasure all day long. You want the feedback that makes you feel good. And so, but that's not the thing is that the negative feedback is extremely important as well. So you got to listen to it. And when you start listening to it and you start actually paying attention to it, then you'll find that to fix these things is not as hard as you think, especially when you have the right knowledge. So we do this deal where it's like, okay, if you're my objective, you're my goal, Coach Natalia, and I'm making my way to you, right? When I get to you, you're on my goal. Well, then I'm going to listen to feedback, basically. So if I'm on course, I'm pointing at you. If I'm off course, I'm walking away. So you would constantly give me feedback: on course, off course, on course, off course, off course, right? And what you'll find is the majority of time people are off course, but did they hit the destination? As long as they listen to the feedback, yes, they will hit their destination. It doesn't matter that you're off course more than you're on course. What matters is that you hit your goal and you hit your destination. But without listening to any feedback, it doesn't happen. And most people go la 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 la, and they pretend that they're not hearing any feedback. They want to ignore it. Who else has ever done that? I mean, I've done it in my life. I'm sure Coach Natalia's done it a time or two. So we're all guilty of these things. And so if we can stop doing that and just take the earmuffs off and listen. And right now, that's what we're asking you to do. Take your earmuffs off and listen. We're giving you feedback. We're teaching you how to think about this. And if you want to change your life and change your business, then, I didn't mean this to be like a whole talk about, like why you should join the group with us. But, it's something that we're extremely passionate about and grateful for, that we have the students that were brave enough and had the courage to invest in it, and a single person that's invested that would tell you that it wasn't a good investment. If they are engaged in the program, they've seen results, period. Like everything in life, there's always a few people that make a decision, but then they don't ever commit. It's like telling your kid, hey, when I get home, we're going to play catch. But you don't commit to it. You know, if you don't commit, then you've got to decide, you know, you got to change your agreements. You got to basically look at your agreements and say, okay, this time we are going to play catch, and this time I am going to hold my agreement. Let's set a new date. And then we set a new date and we make sure that it happens. But if you're not ready to commit to changing your life, changing your business, then there's nobody that can help you ever. And you will stay stuck and you will feel a lot more pain. And eventually it'll be so painful that you quit. You will quit if you don't change it because it's just too painful. So that's the last thing that we want for anybody is to quit. And I'm not trying to wrap this up on a downer. I'm just saying that, you know, we have to be committed. We have to commit to it. And that means like making agreements with yourself, you know, like the gonna lose weight thing. Hey, every time you break those agreements with yourself, you lose a piece of your self-confidence. You lose a piece of your self-esteem. And when that happens over and over and over again, then you don't have the courage to take the risks that you need to take in order to blow past that level and become somebody you've always wanted to be. So I feel like I'm rambling here, but
Yeah, no, you're not. I mean, you know, back to kind of what you were saying, commitment, you know, it does take a level of commitment, you know, and who deserves this, you know, more than you. And it's a commitment to yourself, right? Like, are you going to fulfill your potential? Are you going to be okay with where you're at? If you are, cool. Like, be okay with where you're at. Stop telling yourself lies. Stop committing to stuff that you're not going to get up and do anything about, right? But if change is a thing for you, then commit to that change. Commit to it.
Yeah. So this has been a good talk. Good talking to you. And we're going to start doing this more regularly. Hopefully like twice a month, if you're cool with that. At least
Yeah,
once a month.
absolutely.
Do it twice a
Absolutely.
month. We'll do it once a month. We'll talk about all different subjects and brag on some of our clients here and there, and and brag on ourselves too. You know, that's another thing. It's just being able to celebrate what you're good at and the wins in life. Too many times so we'll leave you with this. So the next time somebody says something nice to you, then I want you to say, how perceptive of you. You know what else is great about me? And then say it. Just try that on for size, because we're always just conditioned to like shrivel up and not be proud of ourselves. And no matter where you're at in business, you've got a few things that you can be proud of always. So the next time somebody compliments you on whatever it is, hey, those are great shoes. That's perceptive of you. Thanks for noticing. You know what else is great? I've got a jacket that goes with these shoes. It's really awesome. You should see it. You know, just play with it, and you'll find that the more you can accept that feedback, because this is the positive feedback, it's going to continue to reinforce your courage and your self-esteem and your own self-concept, which is going to continue to make you more successful. So try it on size and see what happens.
Sounds good. Sounds good.